Hey guys, alright, just before the show starts, I wanted to let you guys know that my fight against cancel culture is still happening. Please go to the description below. There's a link titled Support My Fight Against Cancel Culture. If you want to help my fight, please consider giving a bit of a donation. All the information's in that link. With that being said, enjoy the show.
Like you look like a monk.
Dude, this is what this face
We're
you're saying
live.
is just pure
We're
fucking.
live.
I
Be
think I,
careful what you say.
I
We're
think
live.
we're gonna get a lot of followers just from your outfit today, just from that thing that you're wearing. Like it's gonna be a thing.
Vanner's about to expropriate land in Swaziland
I
with that
think
outfit.
I think we just went live with the words Venner, you look like a monk. That's literally
Oh shit!
Can't take you guys anyway. You can't take you guys seriously. How are we ever supposed to have a serious discussion when you guys, and when you pretend like you've never seen a man wear a fucking poncho?
Yeah, don't bring a punch to a right-wing discussion. That's not gonna work in your favor.
This is alpaca wool. This is alpaca wool.
Don't no. I think
Don't bring a poncho. Don't bring a poncho to a khaki fight.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Funny You
You'd be
Should Say That.
surprised. You'd be surprised the kind of armament you can hide underneath these garments.
Yeah, no.
I
Now
can carry.
a different room today. You're also in a different room today. So what part of the bunker are you in? Like which?
I'm in the sub-level B5, where it's
The east wing of your
that's
bunker.
where we keep all the right-wing paraphernalia. Where that's where we keep all the flags and that kind of stuff. So
A bunker's supposed to be one room. This guy has like a 7-room bunker. Like what's going on here?
It's called
my study is being I'm in the spare room. My study is being overall fixed.
Was it hit by
renovated.
Was it hit by the earthquake? Just checking.
No. Flipping left wingers dumped bombs on my bunker and it cracked and it cracked the wall. So I'm gonna do some repairs.
How dare they attack Fort White Privilege? How dare they?
How dare they?
I will not sit here.
Activate.
Yeah,
activate
speaking of
privilege.
I will not sit here, he's actually not sitting here again. Peter Sawanga apparently is not next to his computer.
Starting to be like a
I think he's taking his like whole logo a little bit too far. It's like I will not sit here. It's like he will literally. I was like, I'm gonna live up to that shit. I'm just not gonna sit here.
You have to practice what
He's
you
really
preach.
not sitting here right now. He's not here. As you can see, there are only 4 squares.
Yeah. Check in, Pete. Check in.
Yeah.
In the 4 square.
Anyway, so we're here today to talk about. We did a whole series previously. We called it the "To Be Woke or Not to Be Woke," and it was about a 5-6 part series. And we decided after we were done with that, it's time to talk about the opposite of woke. Well, I don't know if it is the opposite of woke, but woke is considered to be on the left if you're woke. So we decided, okay, we're going to talk about the right side, the right wing. And some people in society use right wing as an insult, and there's some blurred definitions of what exactly right wing means or is. So we're here to discuss that, and we're going to have some exciting guests coming onto the show in the next coming weeks. We'll be talking a bit more about that later. But while I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and go check out Oba King, Mikhail Venner on social media. Please follow them. I know Oba King's also doing a radio show, so check him out on Sunday.
Yes.
Follow me.
Yes.
I will likely push you off.
You will convert you to monkism. He will convert you to new religion. You can see that little fucking poncho he has on. You will be converted to whatever belief system that shit is.
I'm an Omnian. I believe in everything.
That thing. Also, this episode is brought to you by the chicken wing. Are you left wing or are you right wing?
How long have you been waiting to say that one? How long have you been
are you
waiting?
just a wing?
How long have you been waiting? How long have you been
I'm
holding
the
that in?
whole chicken.
It's a wing
I'm the
situation.
whole chicken. Why do you have to choose a wing? Why can't you just be the whole chicken? I want to be the entire cock. That's what I want to
No,
do.
yeah. Pause.
Rooster,
How did you move
rooster,
from?
cock,
How did you move
rooster,
from wings to
rooster, cock. It's
what happened?
interchangeable, man. Come on, you know.
Talking about
Come
wings
on.
and you just your cocks. This guy.
Hey,
That's
man,
apparently
I've got chickens. I'm a farmer. I got chickens. I can speak, you know. I can talk about cock all day long, you know, because I've got they walk around on the farm all day, and I go, oh look, there goes
Gonna
quite a large cock.
There's
Are you
actually
gonna?
one under his poncho right now.
Hence, I was
Oh
asking.
yeah,
Like, who's gonna give? Joe, are you gonna give him more rope to hang himself?
that's a Bosvelder. That's a Bosvelder.
Why don't we start with our personal definition? I think maybe we'll start there with our personal definition. Then I'll give the actual definitions of right wing and conservativeness. But let's go one by one and give our definition. I'll go last on this one, so we'll start with Oba King. What is your definition of right wing?
Okay. Basically, the left wing is always basted in a lot of wokeness. Yeah, but okay. This is what I understand. The left is always the liberal side of political discussions. If that's basically what we're talking about, those are your liberals. And then your right wing is more your conservatives. And that is as far as I
Is that with a
know.
Z or an S?
Eh?
Is that with a Z or an S? Because it sounded like you said you're conservatives, and I was.
It's auf Deutsch. It's konservativ. Auf Deutsch, konservativ.
All I say is you have a phone and a dictionary. Use one of them, you'll find out. Anyway.
Yeah, that's
that's
a common.
so that's because like if I was to elaborate further on that, I think sometimes the lines between the conservatives and the liberals can be very blurred because sometimes they kind of like go over each other's heads. So in that sphere, I that's what I understand in the basic form of what the left and the right wing is.
Cool.
in terms
Banner?
of-
Well, I mean, there's obviously, like we said, there's like there is with the left, there's a spectrum, and to the right there's a spectrum. You know, so you could just be off center to the right, and you could be middle right, and then you could be all the way to the right, and then anything in between you could be classified as alt right or anything. You know, so I think it really depends on who you speak to. For me personally, the right has in the past always been more associated with like the verkrampte conservative. You know, you will do as I tell you. Those kind of people. Because it works better that way. It works better. Okay, you know, it's
You literally just
authority
sounded
works
like
better.
the minute you did that, you sounded like Mikhail.
Authority, authority only it works better in Afrikaans accents. Okay. Have you? Have you ever heard a policeman go, "Oh, excuse me, sir, would you mind stepping to the side?" But when you hear the cop say, "Hey, bliksem, kom hier so."
Fokon doen die ding.
Yeah.
Like,
So for me,
once you start preempting everything with Fokken, then you are conservative.
yeah, fucking luister nou mooi.
Use words like problematic and what's the other one that's so fucking popular? Problematic and fuck, there's another one. I forgot it now. That the left always uses, but it's in that sphere.
What's
then you're
systemic?
liberal. No.
Yeah, you know, so if
Yeah,
you sort of
systemic.
pro-life,
No.
maybe if you pro-life, if you know sort of
No,
pro-gun ownership.
triggering, problematic. Yeah, what's the other one?
So there are. I think you know there is very much a concept that being right means that you are, you know, a biblical Afrikaans type archetype, you know.
Yeah.
So and in varying shades of that archetype, you know. So and if I take myself, I consider myself right leaning. I mean, I don't fall in any of those. I just don't. You know, to me, right means a bit more, you know, fiscally conservative. You know, using facts over feelings, and you know, sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, but that's just life. You know,
Right.
and it's to me personally, it means like having a bit more of a raw look at life as opposed to this idealistic view of how you think things should be versus let's tackle it for what it is. See the shit sandwich for what the shit sandwich is, as opposed to try and decorate it for a nice, beautiful piece of cake.
Cool. Mikhail?
Nice shit sandwich analogy there. That was beautiful.
Always in with the shit sandwich.
Well, I think the first thing when we need to start off is to realize that conservatism and liberalism are both ideologies. These are both ideologies that will, at some stage, filter through into society and into politics, and they do affect ways of thinking. Now, we've discussed in detail that you have your liberalists, and obviously there are variations, as Vander stated, or sort of levels of extremism. You'll have someone that's centered with liberal sympathies, and then as with the same with the right, you'll have someone you'll start with someone that is moderate, but with conservative sympathies, and then you move all the way from being purely conservative, and then straight through to the fact where you get your fanatic, extreme far right. Now, in general, the right or the right wing have been, or they tend to be more conservative in their views. And these views not only stem at home, but they stem through economics and politics, social issues as well. And the right, I've always had the argument, and this could be incorrect, in the perfect world, your liberals are more idealistic and your conservatives are a bit more realistic. At how they view an issue as it is at the moment. And how it should be dealt with.
'n grap is 'n grap, maar jy maak nie 'n umbrella en 'n man sal hol oop nie.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's such a good saying.
It is a good saying. It is a very good saying.
Yeah. All that's credit to Leon Schuster. Otherwise, I would have never known that shit.
So with regards to being right wing, you would tend to be more conservative, or definitely be conservative. There would, in most cases, would be an element of a strong religious, moral, and value system. In many cases, not all, because people are different. It's just the tendencies. And then if you start moving towards the far right and the extreme far right, you're looking at a group of people that are more likely to be militant. And the scary thought here is they will be organized militants, that are not afraid of making use of violence, but at the same time have been desensitive enough to actually be able to take violence as well. But that's obviously to the more further right of the spectrum, when you start looking at your militant fanatics. And I think that is my personal definition.
Cool.
But once again, any person's personal definition does stem from the core description of any ideology.
And where do you feel you sit?
I've always stated that.
Are you right-handed? You're definitely right.
No, I'm definitely I'm
ambidextrous.
I've never been ashamed to state that I am, or I think all people should. It's more a case of that people try than that they are. I've always tried to be moderate with conservative leanings. I do feel there are certain traditions and ways of doing things from a conservative point of view that I still think have value. I still think, as Vander said, there are certain fiscal tendencies that I prefer to be more conservative with. So I unashamedly will say that I am moderate with conservative tendencies or conservative leanings. And I don't have a problem saying that, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's the same as there's nothing wrong with someone stating they're moderate with liberal leanings. That's absolutely fine, as long as we never start stepping into the shadows of the far left and the far right, it's okay to be that way. So
yeah, absolutely. And okay, so I'm gonna let you know what I think right and left is. My opinion of it is it's right and left is just a label where it is to give like your political stance on a few ideologies and topics and issues that we have in our society. Right, definitely more conservative, left more liberal. But it's become, in my opinion, a very complicated thing to say. I don't think we can say anymore, oh, I'm even just saying I'm center leaning right or center leaning left. I think it's more complicated than that. I normally do, for the sake of just saying, okay, well, if you want to put a label on me, I'm center leaning right, because but I feel that I have my own views when it comes to, pro-life, pro-choice, or if it comes to gun rights, or if it comes to all these other issues that we have in today's society. Not issues, but debates. So yeah, some people think I am. It's interesting because some people on my channel have said that I'm a lolbert. I didn't hear that term until
what?
a lolbert. So LOLBERT.
Lawbird, is that a Smurf? What the hell? Lawbird, what the fuck? It sounds like a rugrat or sickness or some shit. What the fuck?
Apparently,
my
it's
Lawbird
an
is acting
insult
up.
for a
What the fuck?
libertarian. Apparently, it's an insult for a libertarian. I did not know that. So apparently, some of my audience think I'm a libertarian.
You sound
like a
behave
libertarian.
more liberal to me than you are. For me, I've experienced you as more of a liberal, just from a personal interaction, because like the way we get along, and this is just based off of that. You are a very liberal person.
I am, but at the same time, I believe in
Yeah.
gun rights. And that's considered
Of
that's a
course.
right wing
Shoot a
thing.
motherfucker.
Um,
Shoot a motherfucker.
That's a right wing. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's very complicated these days just to. There we go. See, okay, so our future guest, ladies and gentlemen, one of them in 2 weeks' time, so not next week, the week after, is going to be Marhabain. He's actually joined us tonight, so thank you, buddy. And he says, hello, fellas, and he says, lolbert means lolbertarian.
Has he joined, and is he giving a super chat? If not, we don't recognize him.
don't recognize you on this channel.
Yeah.
Okay, so my opinion of it is like, yeah. So I would consider myself center leaning right, and I see it just as a political thing. I don't see it as like anything else. But that's was my interpretation, or is my interpretation. Now I'm going to give you guys the definitions. So this is Oxford definition of right wing. All right. The first one is the conservative or reactionary section of a political party or system. Definition number 2, the right side of a team or field of soccer or rugby, field or hockey. So that's like right wing for sports. Adjective, conservative or reactionary, a right-wing Republican senator, for example. Right. Then there's the Wikipedia definition, which is right-wing politics, represents the view that certain social orders and hierarchies are inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable, typically supporting this position on the basis of natural law, economics, or tradition. So that is those two definitions. I'm going to give you conservative as well from the Oxford Dictionary. Averse to change, this is for conservative, averse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. In a political context, this is definition number 2, favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially conservative ideas. So those are the definitions of the Oxford Dictionary for conservative. I do want to give the Urban Dictionary definition for conservative. It's a bit long, so bear with me. Despite
left Biden, right Trump.
Despite the misgivings of certain individuals who have an absurdly black and white view of political spectrum, conservatism does not instantly mean hypocrisy, and it certainly is not necessarily far right in philosophy. Conservatism can be broadly categorized in two areas: fiscal conservatism, a belief in personal responsibility for finances, scaling back taxation to allow greater control over individual incomes. Conservative thinking promotes cutbacks in public spending, enabling tax breaks to be given to those that are earning, and believes in helping those out of work back into self-sufficiency. And then there's the social conservatism, which is contrary to the fiscal conservatism. Social conservatism, or social conservatives, sorry, believe in placing restrictions on personal freedoms, resulting in more government involvement into the daily lives of individuals. This is also known as neoconservative. And that's for the Urban Dictionary for right wing is very long. And I'm just gonna, anybody who's watching can pause and read this definition. It's very long. But you will see in this, they also break it down with the right wing that there's a social scale and there's an economic scale, which have their own definitions or their own like sub-definition. But something that I want to read that I felt was quite important, even this is an Urban Dictionary, which we shouldn't really take too seriously because it's very easy to put definitions of words in here. But the important part I wanted to point out here is it is possible to be right-wing in both a social and economic way, or only on one scale, which is why being right-wing should not be synonymous with racism, fascism, or simply Adolf Hitler, which a lot of, or a big part of society nowadays, you know, they use right-wing as an insult.
Yeah, the thing is, I find a problem with that, and I think our one guest in the next 2 weeks that will be watching as well. If you look at,
he's going mad he's going mad in the comments. He's I haven't caught up yet.
Yo, is he writing a thesis? And then next thing we're gonna see this all these comments in his book coming up, as seen on the Joe Emilio show. Funny you should say that. Except from guys, I've been having champagne, so I'm in a silly fucking mood. Anyway,
champagne.
I think
champagne. True champagne, or is it just sparkling wine? Because
no, it's sparkling wine unless it actually comes from the French from the region, and it will be champagne. Yeah. So if Oberking was being a baller and he actually had a bottle of Dom Pérignon there, JC Leroux would be sparkling wine.
Oh, unless it wasn't champagne, was it?
Just like to categorically state that I can afford.
All right, let me actually read Morbane's comments because I think he's got a point here, and it might give us a bit of insight into what we can expect when he comes on. Stop seeing a spectrum. See the left as a tradition following the French Revolution with many branches, and the right as a series of attempts to stop it from destroying everything. Right is everything that isn't the left. And then he quotes, or that he says, Trumpinkins and Baijibu, obviously Trump and Biden, are both further left than Clinton, Obama, Bush, etc. Neoconservatives are liberals who believe in spreading liberal democracy by force. Conservatism is relative. Sorry, what are you conserving? Too many opinions. That's his little.
Yeah, the thing, the first point I want to make is, and I think he's touched on it, and we've touched on it, the concepts of conservatism and liberalism on their own are very, very complex. There are many parts that form the whole, and it does become very difficult for a normal person that is trying to understand these ideologies, which they are. And to give a short 3-sentence description of what they are. So that is difficult. But I think with most ideologies, to sum an ideology up in a sentence or two is problematic to start off with, because they are a lot more complex than what can someone shorten or make easy to understand. And then secondly, with the one definition, I know, I understand it's obviously the Urban Dictionary, which is not problematic in itself, but people are allowed to edit it as they choose to. This synonymous thing of that conservatism and fascism are exactly the same thing. They're not. If you and I'm actually now very, I regret not actually having one of my political science textbooks here, because the description of what fascism is an ideology on its own, with its own
What
trope.
is fascism, actually? I've never actually understood what that meant,
Antifa.
to be quite honest. Huh?
I'm going to be
Antifa
cancelled now.
is Antifa is anti-fascism, and then conservatism is its own ideology on its own. Now, the easiest example would be for fascism would be the Nazi Party,
Yeah.
or as its full name is Nationalistische Deutsche Arbeiterspartei, which translates into the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
It's like a workers' party, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it says in its name, it's the National Socialist Party. So there is.
Sounds like a Tourette's fucking reaction.
in its simplest form, fascism does have these core concepts. There are things such as a certain form of superiority above others.
Whether it's moral superiority or a physical
economic, whatever it may be, there's a all-encompassing superiority element to it, and it does have a lot of nationalistic tendencies as well, putting your country first and putting your fellow countrymen first, and it does delve into that slightly national socialist element where we will put our country first together, that whole idea of working together. So fascism in its own self, it does have conservative tendencies in maintaining tradition, and certain power structures and certain hierarchies, but it also flips it a bit on his head with the idea that to prosper can only be done together, whereas obviously conservatism does, from a fiscal point of view, is a lot more focused on a free market capitalist system. As the one definition stated, sort of a natural order. Those that work hard and those that are more intelligent will get further in life than those that aren't. So that's the problem we sit with now. And obviously with time and hopefully later tonight we'll get into the terrible evils of the far right, which is the whole point of this why we suggested this. It's because we discussed the far left and all the terrible things they have done, and it's only fair that we do the far right as well. But it's become so convoluted what people think the far right are and what they are in reality, that I think it needs to be cleared up and defined. And it's so much easier for people to shout, no, but if you're right wing, you're automatically fascist. But if they were actually to go home and pick up a fucking book, they'd realize it's a different fucking ideology.
Soapbox alert.
Yeah. I mean, you're really setting the bar quite high.
Just checking.
So yeah, I know. Apparently, requesting a 30% to pick up a book is a very difficult task in its own. It might even be Herculean. It's the 13th task.
Wait.
Hercules.
Was it George Koch?
Wait, what is just wrong? Now, I just want to pause on this. I know this is a little bit off topic, right? But what is wrong, right, with pointing out that we have people that have, in a schooling system which is arguably degraded immensely, they still get 30%, right? I mean, and these are the kind of people that want to be in charge of policy making and in charge of what other people do with their lives. I think we should, as like everyone, we should just go, wag a fucking bikkie. Okay? And just stop that shit, because, and at every turn that we get, shame the shit out of these people, right? Because they need to pick up a book. They need to read. They need to educate themselves.
Here's the thing: when the system that you are existing in deliberately, for whatever fucking reason, sets the bar that low, then you automatically don't feel the need to achieve higher, because anything above what is deemed to be average, which is that 30%, means you've already succeeded.
Yeah.
So you don't have the push for you to be better than 30%. Then that's just left up to you. So
But
I
here's
think that kind of
yeah.
thing, it also would bleed into the kind of quality that would be given by, educators or whatever, in terms of that system. Because if I'm teaching people that are only aiming for 30%, why should I give 100%?
Mm.
You get what I mean?
No, absolutely.
So
I mean,
yeah,
you're absolutely correct. But the first step is in that realization that perhaps I do need to read it a little bit more.
true.
Perhaps I should broaden my horizons. Perhaps I should watch more than just a particular news stream or listen to one particular thing. Listen to all the voices, read all the different things. That's what it means to be self. I mean, you don't have to be particularly smart in order
Hmm.
to know that you're not smart, that you need to educate yourself.
Granted,
Sorry,
but
Mikhail.
like we come from, yeah.
We're getting off topic here. We're not talking about the
It's fine.
education
Okay, yeah,
system. We're
My
here to
my
talk
It's
about.
kind of like
soapbox does
right.
that.
This is right wing kind of thought. This is right wing thinking, right?
This
This
is,
is
yeah.
basically what this right wing, what is considered right wing thinking. Now, to me, it is very much that thing of life isn't fair. I get it. It's like we live in South Africa. We have a certain experience. There are people that live um, in Europe, and that's their experience, and they've got certain, and then there are people that live in India, that have, a very strong, stringent caste system, So the first step is to go and realize, to say, look, life isn't fair, right? Acknowledge it, and then say, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to make sure that, first of all, I can feed myself, because I don't want handouts. I want to look after, because there's dignity in that, right? There's some dignity in doing, right? There's because when you give someone a handout, it robs them of that dignity in order to look after it. And there's a sense of satisfaction that you get from doing that, right? So, and yes, the system has been basically designed to create people that are absolutely dependent on that handout, right? It's just that it's by design. It's not just sheer um, uh, you know lack of skill. It's been a deliberate process. So knowing that, it's quite clear. It's in the age of the internet, it's not difficult for one to kind of get your thinking a little bit more in line, and get a better general knowledge, I would say.
Mikhail?
All right.
No, it's that my soapbox rants do that. We go completely off tangent because Mikhail got upset at a thing. But I think it's important that tonight we not only gave our own definition of what conservatism is, and in general what the right wing is. Obviously, we'll get to the far right, because there is a problem in society, and this goes both sides of the coin, where people mislabel what things are. I recently saw that someone wrote an article. It wasn't the greatest publication it was in, and I'll send it to you guys later if I come across it again, where they compared Freetown, that little shithole thing that's been created in the US, which looks like Mad Max with free love apparently, to Urania. And I'm reading the article and I'm going, but how the hell you are comparing apples to whale sharks? How are you making these comparisons? How can you draw up a study whether it's just an article or from an academic point of view, and compare these two things, because they are completely different in their establishment, the way they are run, the ideologies and the thought processes behind it, the economics. Okay, in my personal opinion, Freetown does not have economics. It consists of thugonomics, but that's a discussion for a different fucking day. But this article was now written to prove the far right and what apparently the well-thinking liberal left are doing. And that's the problem, is that because we are mislabeling things, and because liberalism and conservatism is being mislabeled by people that should not be labeling things to start off with. They shouldn't even label a fucking can and ShopRite, but they are given the platform to label things. The people that end up reading this, the people that come across this rhetoric, have the wrong idea to start off with. And the problem is, if you have the wrong idea already, the chances of you going and reading the wrong source material, or in certain cases looking for source material in the wrong places, only escalates the problem and only escalates the bias. And yeah, I think conservatism and the far right is coming to the point where they now become synonyms for one another, due to this lack of actually doing the necessary research and understanding that being conservative and being a fanatic far right is two completely different things, in the same way that being a liberal and being a far left is two completely different things.
Amen.
But that's the problem we sit with, and not just us here. Everyone outside, anyone that picks up a newspaper or reads an article on, God forbid, IOL. That's the problem we sit with.
Yeah. So we had a question here. I want to bring it up and get your thoughts, because, yeah. So we spoke about fascism and Antifa earlier, and White Noise Podcast, which, by the way, guys, for those of you watching don't know that podcast or YouTube channel, please go subscribe. Hold on. Antifa is anti-fascist, but they have extreme fascist tendencies. Thoughts?
Well, they do. I don't know how well the others have followed this, but they do. We discussed this in with the series when we did the woke. This whole firstly forcing your idea on others and generalizing a certain group of people to suit your narrative is it's found in many ideologies, but it was very much found in fascist ideologies. Antifa saying that, for an example, that all white people are racist and far right, is in no means different to what the Nazi government in Germany was saying about the Jews. It isn't, because you have taken a stereotype, you have not only politicized it, but you have weaponized it.
Same as the KKK, those kind of groups. They're all fascist in their nature. You have to think a certain way, and they all use the vilification of people that they don't agree with as their weapon to fill their ranks. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Antifa, how they operate in exactly the same way. They just don't use necessarily just race as their definition. They have various broad strokes approaches in which they may label somebody as either right leaning or left leaning. And the videos that you've been seeing, where they go into like restaurants and demand that people do certain, chant with them, or they block traffic, and that is fascist-like behavior. And if you look at their flag, and if you go look at the I think this was the youth brigades during the Nazi rule, their flag is almost exactly the same. It's like they literally took everything out of their playbook and they are copying it verbatim, and it's just they've made the group just bigger.
Yeah, it's And the thing is, they don't realize is you use the example of going into restaurants and public spaces and telling people to act a certain way or else. If you look at Kristallnacht that happened in Germany, you seriously repeating the actions of 85 years ago.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's ironic. It's ironic that they would accuse the others, and it obviously seems ironic that we're saying exactly the reverse. Both sides are accusing each other of being fascist in nature, but I think and this is where the right-leaning, the moderate right, are more sort of they're willing to say, okay, I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to force you to see things my way, and as long as you don't interfere with my life, I'm not going to interfere with you. Whereas the other side, they don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And that is the sign of fascist behavior.
All right, so let me ask another question here. Mikhail, in your opinion, and I think you would probably be the best person to ask here, because you are, I think, the more, because you studied political science. In your opinion,
Nerd.
in your opinion, what is an example of a radical far right group or individual?
Well, obviously, I can do the lazy thing and quote the Ku Klux Klan, the Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging or the AWB, your various neo-Nazi movements that have been flourishing in Eastern Europe, and especially in the Balkans for the past 30 years. But the extreme far right is not acted on by a single race or religion. We have obviously, and we are used to seeing the far right as shaved, angry white people in ill-fitting clothes. But if you look at the Middle East, and if you look at government systems, for example, such as in Iran and various other countries in the surrounding areas, there is a tendency of obviously also of a far right. It is a very conservative, hierarchical driven system, with whether they are being hypocritical or not, in most cases they are, but it has an apparent religious backbone of moral and value systems. These are systems you're not allowed to move away from. If you move away from these value systems, you are condemned automatically and dealt with very, very harshly. There's an iron grip on tradition and an unwavering feeling that they won't move away from it. So the far right is definitely, I don't think a single race or religious or cultural grouping of people own the trademark to the far right. The far right, if you ask for examples, like I said, we have the lazy normal ones. It doesn't make them irrelevant. They are still brilliant examples or infamous examples, such as the KKK and the AWB, of fanatical far right and the neo-Nazis. But you have to look at movements in the Middle East. If you look at how we have been trying to define the far right, their militancy, this very strong doctrine to the point of a dogma that you may not move away from. If you just look at those parameters, a movement such as ISIS and Boko Haram are far right.
Exceptionally far right.
A single power state with extremely stringent, unmoving political power systems in place, hierarchical systems in place that may not be moved, no allowment for changing tradition, history, social and cultural norms. These are far right movements, fanatical far right movements. Yeah. The only reason we label them as terrorists or Islamic terrorists, I always feel a bit unfair, because they are I believe the majority of the Muslim community are loving, caring people. But how they've been labeled, the only reason they've been labeled as terrorists and not far-right nut jobs is because of the religious element in it, which I think is a bit unfair, because the traditional far-right that we know also make use of an apparent religious value system to defend their actions. So those are the examples I can think of. There's a movement as well in Asia, but I'll get to that now once I've remembered it. But once again, it's the far right as we know it is not solely a Western thing.
Yeah.
It's the West didn't come up with being far right in a complete militant arsehole on our own. It definitely does exist in other places of the world as well. And if you looked at the parameters of what we deem to be a far right, you'll find that they are prevalent, sadly, as much as the far left are on other continents and the countries within them. So,
and they're also prevalent in a lot of traditional movements or traditional beliefs. Those kind of structural, traditional, non-shaking ideals are there. You can see a lot of, like, in any conservative culture, be it, Setswana, Xhosa, whatever, and even in African cultures, you find that a lot of the ideologies that are accepted there are if you were to politicize them and not traditionalize them, they will be very right-leaning, because a lot of what's happening there is just based in belief structure and history.
Yeah, which is just peer pressure from dead people.
Basically.
I say fuck them.
That was brilliant. Peer pressure from dead people. Wow.
That's what culture is. That is what culture is. If you sum it up, that is the brief. That's the elevator pitch. Is peer pressure from and I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not saying it's all bad.
I will not subscribe to peer pressure from dead people. Sorry, I need that on a t-shirt. Right next to Shut the Fuck Up Forever by Dave Chappelle. Damn! Shit! Yo, Vernon, it took you, how long have we been doing the show?
No, look.
A few months now. It took you like a few months to come up with that 1 million fucking quote.
I can't claim that.
Word.
Someone else.
I
must have read it somewhere. It's definitely not my work. But it's true though. It's true.
It is peer pressure.
It's exceptionally true.
So
So
I really love it.
there are many things that one can say about culture, right? And here's the thing is that not all things about culture is bad, right? But not all things about it is good, and it's simply, and for each person, that's going to be a different bar that you're going to measure it against. My bar is quite simply, does your cultural practice have any form of imbalance of power where somebody is being subjected to do something against their will where they shouldn't be or don't want to be, or their choice is removed? So that's my basic tenet for pretty much everything that I measure in life. Is someone abusing their power? And if so, it's not right. Or it's not left. I'm not quite sure how you want to put that. So yeah.
I think, I think both sides have, and someone mentioned it in the comments, I think a good word for it is extremists. Both sides have radicals, both sides have extremists that take things a bit too far. And we must, that's the thing, we've got to, for whether you're liberal or you're right or you're whatever, conservative, whatever you want to call it, this label of right wing, it's not an insult. It needs to stop being an insult, because it's like left wing. Left wing for some reason is not an insult, right? If you say, "Oh, you're left wing," no one takes that as an insult.
Okay. You're vegan,
and it's the opposite. And it's the opposite of right wing.
Vegan.
It's just an opposite.
Right
That's
wing.
all it is.
Your hand.
No, hold on.
Oh shit.
No, hold on.
Every time somebody
Being-
says like
Being
vegan,
vegan is the 8th deadly sin. It's nothing else. It's simply the 8th deadly sin. It came about a bit later, but it's the 8th deadly sin. I hate speaking to a vegan. Yeah, but gorillas live off a diet of that. Yes, they have to eat about 40 kilograms of fucking bay leaves just to manage their metabolism. So don't come with that stupid argument.
No, I'm just never mind. Yeah. No, all of these things have extremists to it. I would consider myself, I don't know, like having listened to all of these definitions that still fucking boggle my mind because you guys went very technical with the shit. I would be more, I guess, left leaning. And have some conservativeness in me, and I don't know how y'all will place it in your very nerdy terms when it comes to this shit. But I'm more of an inclusive human being on allowing people to be exactly who they want to be in space. But also, I do believe that there are some traditional structures that have kept us to quote unquote be, I don't know, like just protect our way of being. You know what I mean?
Kept us safe.
Kept
Call
us
it what it
safe,
is,
kept
you know?
us.
It's like when you teach a kid not to stick your hand in the fire. It's a dumb idea. You know
what
that's,
I mean?
That's cultural pressure, sure, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Like I do understand why, for example, in and correct me if I'm wrong, like in very left-leaning circumstances, the idea of the man being the head of the household will be considered bollocks, right? Whereas in your right leaning or in conservatism, it would be more considered to be traditional, and that's how it's supposed to be. You get what I mean? And I understand Joe, you're frozen on my side, or you just like
No,
playing.
sorry, I'm
okay, great.
listening.
Now, there
He's playing Minesweeper.
just like, man, you perfected the freeze, fam. Like you were just like, oh, you buffered in real life. You know, so and I understand the reasons why it was deemed to be that way, because that belief is largely traditional, because it came from a time where men were hunter gatherers and blah 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 blah. Fast forward, it went into the Industrial Revolution, where men had to work, women were at home, and all of that. It's and also like very religious. It has a lot of religious beliefs and gravitas to it. So I understand why those structures exist. But then when you're very left, that argument does not fly. Am I right? I don't know. That not making sense.
Yeah. Because if you're very left, then no rules apply.
Exactly.
There's this whole thing. You cannot invalidate anyone's experience. It's feelings over facts, and they say it. It's like feelings over facts, and that is where there's no middle ground there. You can't say, well, I believe in facts over feelings, and you say, well, I believe in feelings over. It's like that thing is saying men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We're just fundamentally different beings, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's okay.
And we
in
need
fact,
difference.
Yeah, I mean, we need that opposite side, but it works in some contexts, and in some contexts it doesn't. And sometimes I think people that are more left-leaning have a difficult time making that judgment call about when you need to sort of not use your feelings to drive your decisions, but actually look at the facts.
But I think we're all in agreement. We did summarize that every great movement has an emotional spark, but I think every social issue is solved with intellect and logic and discussion. But I do feel that if a person sees themselves as conservative or right leaning within moderation, obviously in a moral and socially acceptable sphere. I still think there's the same obligation to call out the far right, because the far right is also in itself, as we all can agree with, very, very damaging. I think there's still a social responsibility if you are more right-leaning, once again within a safe spectrum or level, that racism should be called out. Feminism should be called out. Anti-feminism should be called out.
Careful.
No.
Careful.
No. No,
Whoa.
that was not a Freudian slip.
Watch someone go edit that shit.
Yo, Oba King, are you frozen there, man? You're buffering in real life.
We should.
Sorry, there was just some distracting thing that happened for a little bit there.
So for
So
example,
I got distracted for a bit.
No worries.
From a personal point of view, yes, I am more conservative leaning, and I am pro Afrikaan, and by extension that means I'm pro tribalism. But it's still my responsibility to call out racism and people that are acting homophobic or transphobic or sexist. It should still be called out, and the acts of the far right, and not simply historically going, yeah, but lynch mobbing was a terrible thing in the 60s in the southern states. Things such as police brutality, there's still that responsibility to call that out. Because once again, as we've discussed in the past, the hard work done by moderate liberals is very much damaged by the far left, and that goes the same for moderate conservatives. The far right are militant, and they are dangerous, and they are violent. If you've watched, obviously a video is also very much always from a certain point of view. It's very difficult to get on a cell phone recording both sides of the coin. But if you have seen more than enough clashes between Antifa and the far right, 9 out of 10 times Antifa gets fucking romp stomped and rickrolled by the far right, because of this. The fanatical far right has this inherent
testosterone problem.
Inherent tendency to act violently and respond with violence, or respond to violence with more violence, and they will gladly do so. And that's always been, and because my wife is much more liberal leaning than I am, we have had very, very good discussions, and she has agreed with me on this, that the one scary thought is, if you end up having a full-blown clash between the fanatic far left and the fanatic far right, the far right are going to eat them for breakfast, and it's going to be bloody, and no one's going to be left at the end of the day. And that should be put to stop. And the problem is, the issue we had last time, it goes both ways. If you are moderately conservative, and you look at the far left, it's a lot easier to run into the arms of the far right. But that goes the same way the other hand. You might have someone that's moderate with conservative leanings, with liberal leanings, and they would be more than welcome to come sit down at the table and have a discussion, and obviously read up a bit more and understand the issues better. But if you look at the behavior of the far right, and especially the horrible, violent behavior of the far right, I can't really blame them from a knee-jerk reaction to run into the arms of the far left, because of the way that the far right act and how they react, and the fact that they proudly spout racism and homophobia and transphobia. And I think if you have conservative or right-leaning tendencies, you'd have that same responsibility to call this out and call out their bullshit, because they will also use very archaic arguments to defend their stance, and they are also unmoving from their stance, and they also have the tendency to call out your more moderate conservatives as being traitors to the cause and various other. For example, there's a very, very terrible term in Afrikaans that luckily we by law can't use anymore. It's the K word followed by boetie. It's one word. So there's K boetie, which, and in certain cases there's definitely an English version somewhere of that, where if you were called a K boetie, it was because you were sympathetic to a non-white socialist movement. But 9 out of 10 times these people were just moderate with slightly conservative leanings. They were still open-minded to having a discussion with the other side of the table, and we should call that out, and we should call out that bullshit.
I think one of the things that's quite clear, on both the left and the right, when it gets to the extremist end of it, they are both low intellect, generally speaking, because I find people that are and I'm not necessarily saying low, that they have low intelligence. They're not very well educated. They're not very well rounded. They don't have, they don't consider all the information. So they're much more easier.
I would say narrow-minded.
Radicalize. So it's basically mind control. If someone isn't smart enough to realize they're being manipulated, they're easy to manipulate. And this is why I think throughout, even the National Party and back in the day, in governments throughout the world, they do their utmost best to keep their society, for the most part, illiterate or distracted. There's a saying that comes from the Roman times. It's called breads and circuses. Give them breads and circuses, and they won't pay attention to the real issues. So that happens, and that has been happening, by a leading class that understand this. It is much easier to put people against one another if you keep them young, dumb, full of cum, and keep them divided.
Full of cum.
It's a lovely. It's actually a translation of a lovely Afrikaans saying.
You had me at full of cum.
Yeah. So it's almost like it's a game. Let's get some pawns on the left, let's get some pawns on the right. See how far we can push some of them and get some extremists and just let them freaking fight it out. And the more left or the more centrist you become, I think that is it's like over time. I think more people become centrist, and start thinking more of the libertarian, kind of mindset, where there is no smaller minority than the individual, and the individual rights will always remain the thing that you want to protect. So when you're young, you either start out quite far on the left or quite far on the right, and then as you age and you get older, I think you tend to move more.
Or hopefully.
To the center.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna Ben. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Are you?
No.
Okay.
That's my little box.
I'm gonna close it here because I do want to keep these. This time, I want to try and keep to an hour for all of these. Although I have a feeling that in our next episodes, we will go over the hour because we will be having a guest with us. So for those of you who want to know who the guests are, next week, Germ Warfare will be joining us on this panel to give his insight and his opinion on what right-wing is. And he has been quite ridiculed and labeled by the far left as right-wing, racist, and radical. Is he really?
He will
we'll
also be
find out.
drawing a slimmer version of Joe.
So we'll find out.
Live on the show. Yeah, Germ will do a character of all of us.
He probably would. He probably would. You don't want Germ to draw you. Trust
in
me.
my caricature.
It's fine. He can do one. It's fine. He can do one. Even my character will be pretty, so it's fine.
And so Germ Warfare will be joining us next week on this panel, and then the week after that, Morobane or Rob will be joining us as well. He considers himself a radical right, and he's not ashamed to admit it. So we'll be talking to him about that. There are other shows that I've done with both of those gentlemen. I did one last night, Life as a Lapsed Communist. That was very interesting. We found out because Rob used to actually be on the far left. He used to be a commie, and he changed. It was very interesting to find out why. So please, I recommend people to go watch that. And I also had last Friday a conversation with Germ. What is conservative? So it's very related. It definitely relates to what we're talking about now. And next week, we will continue that conversation with him, and we'll try and see if we can, give a proper definition to what right wing is in this series. And should we be offended? Should we not be offended? Are we as bad as the people say that we are? I mean, is it really that bad? Is there a difference between radical? Maybe it's just Mikhail. Yes, maybe it's just Mikhail. So
it's definitely Mikhail.
And then maybe at the end we will state once again where we think we fall on the political spectrum. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I've seen all of your comments. There was a heated debate about religion in the live chats. I will not touch on that right now, but I'll bring.
Yeah, I've got a feeling Chico was involved.
Yep, Chico was involed. Well done.
I thought so.
So thank you all so much for tuning in. I do want to say hi to Charles Zeely, who I haven't seen you in the chats before. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. He said hi guys, so I'm saying hi back. We had Vut ZAR Co has joined us again. Thank you so much for joining in. Yanni was here, Reese was here, Count Vontenkampf, and we had Chico, and we had a few other guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. Join us next week as we continue this conversation. What is right wing? Part 2. Guys, you guys want to say anything as we close off?
No. I'm just the whole chicken. I am the whole cock.
I'm just thinking. I have some chicken wings in the microwave. Some of them might be left wing, some of them might be right wing. I don't know. I'm gonna fucking eat all of them. That's all I know.
All right.
They're spiced. Yes, and I'm gonna warm them up, and I'm gonna eat both the left and right wing. So I will give my my findings next week on what I think about the right wings and the left wings next week's show.
If Overking eats the equal amount of left wings and right wings, he will end up being moderately obese. So that is the perfect center of where we want to be.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back here tomorrow evening for a new show called Say What with Overking, Mikhail, Bevan, and myself, where we comedians roast the headlines. It's a lot of fun. We had our first episode 2 weeks ago. This tomorrow is the second episode. It is non-stop laughter the entire time, I promise. So please tune into that. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, if
super chats for like $500, so get your money ready. We need to up that shit because I don't have groceries in my fridge, so we need super chats for that money. So it's the stakes are high. We have a benchmark of 500 rand. We need somebody to beat that shit. So watch tomorrow because that's also what's happening. Watch tomorrow with money. We need more people with money. Sorry, I just. No, good. I'm gonna be the beggar on this. If I don't care, okay. If you are going to be very, very nice about this thing, guys, no, you don't have to super chat if you don't want to, but we just appreciate your presence. Fuck that. No, hey, put the money up. Put your goddamn money up. We're putting our data up, our comedy up, our times up. Some of us have put dukes on and pretended to be a fucking somizi. We expect your money in this thing. Me, I'm not gonna be nice about it. I don't care what Joe says. This is his channel. I don't care still. Bring all those super chats. Even if it's 10 rand, it's fine. I don't care. Just make sure because money needs to happen. This is entertainment. It should not be for free. Sorry, I just need to get that off my chest. Yes, be here tomorrow. And watch us roast the headline.
Overking is being such a liberal, asking for money and not working for it.
No, I'm just saying.
You also have the
super
DVD.
The super chats people are the most important. If you're just out here with your free comments, we don't recognize. Sorry, that is my belief. It is disclaimer. It has nothing to do with Joe Emilio.
So,
Overking,
honest question.
I'm a digital capitalist.
Do you tip when you go into Pornhub?
Say what? Dude, I have a subscription and I leave the comments. I'm that guy. Okay? I'm just like, yo. I'm just like, that DP performance is very bad compared to last week. Last week you took the two dicks like a champ. Today you choked. What happened? I'm that person. You know, follow me on Pornhub, better. You will see. I have a blue tick next to my name. Just saying.
All right.
You went there. I did. So
on that
took a
bombshell.
turn. That's the right wing I know. That is my right wing. I'm there. I'm born both. I have exclusive membership. I have 10 million followers. Yeah.
And there we go, Obaking. Your wish was granted. There we go. Mokapa giving a 35 Rand super chat.
There we go. You see, that's the content I'm here for. Ultimately, we are doing this for the super chat. Let's not be liberal about this thing, okay?
Saying
ultimately
money.
Ultimately, we are doing this for the super chats. The more super chats we get, the more content. And next thing, I'll be out of this room and we'll be in a proper studio and things. This is why
instead
of
Joe
sending
Cyril to go ask Trump for money, we should send you. You're
Yeah.
like your top man.
No, man, I don't care. Joe needs to build a studio so we can be there and we can have a proper fucking, I don't know, Flagrant 2, Breakfast Club, whatever type of Joe Rogan type shit, so we can sit there and get like 1 million views and stuff. And we're in South Africa. We can only do that through your super chat. So please, this man needs to build his right-wing studio. So,
and there we go. Yanni now giving a 70 Rand super chat.
There we go.
Made me do it.
See, that's what my rents do. They give money, comrade. Money.
I'm just waiting for the next show where Overking comes dressed as Gladiator going, are you not entertained?
If everybody on the comment section right now is super chatting and giving something, I will be here. I will be so busy every week. I don't care. We can do this right-wing conversation, and I'll be so busy. I'll be fucking Jacob Zuma. I don't care. Just fucking super chat.
No, please don't. Let's not do a challenge where we do Zuma now. No, please.
I'll go. I'll be Mandela. I don't care. We are here for the super chat people. In fact, we recognize those people. They have membership. They are card carrying members of the Joe Emilio show.
Oh man, that's funny.
Okay.
All right, cool. On that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen.
Even you cheap fuckers in the comments, I love you still.
Stay safe. Be kind to one another, and we'll see you at the next
super
one.
Chat. And super chat.
Nice.
Don't be kind to those super chats, sir.
Hey guys, so if you enjoyed the show, please consider giving it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to my channel. And if you really enjoyed the content, feel free to join and become a member. Don't forget about my fight against cancel culture. That's in the link in the description below. Support my fight against cancel culture. Go to that link and all the information is there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.